All right, the situation now is that Iran is completely finished. You see, you in this situation of 21st century, you went and involved yourself in a war that, you know what is a war against America and the allies like Israel.
What a beautiful day. Khomeini is dead. I never thought I would see this day. Thank you, God. So, my friends, you're all welcome to come visit Iran together with myself. I'm gonna host you all. Let's go see the beautiful Iran together.
Iran is finished. Now, you wasted all your budgets on bombs and whatever missiles that you are forming, and you left the target, and you are now targeting, went to Dubai, went to UAE, bomb, went to Iraq, bomb. You see all those nonsense throwing bomb, you know, to your brothers. Is it not confusion? America has put confusion into these people. They don't know what they are doing again. You see, so there is no need. This war that Iraq got themselves into, there is no need. They could have avoided it. There is no way you go and start challenging countries like America. There is a way, you know, things have ordered themselves in this world. Just know it and know peace. There is a way things have been ordered automatically in this world. Somebody is above somebody. There is a level you belong. There is a level you belong. And it has been placed that way. You cannot alter it. Because maybe you manufactured one or two, you know, bombs. Now you come out and start challenging America and Israel. Now see the problem they have caused to themselves. They can't even feed their countries very well, but they budget large sum of money on weapons. You see one thing with all these terrorist countries, these countries that harbor terrorists, that is their way, that is their plan. Now the country, they say that they are not Muslims, that this Islamic religion was forced on them. That is what they are celebrating.
They are burning down mosques in a declaration that they are done with Islam. They're done. We are not an Islamic society. You forced this upon us. We refuse to live this way anymore. People burning down mosques in Iran to say we are not an Islamic society, there is no room for this. You're watching videos like this one. Teenagers, young women in particular, are dancing and whipping their hair around. They are ripping off their hijabs, whipping their hair around to show, I am not wearing a hijab, I am not wearing a burqa, I am not being forced to hide my identity and to hide my beauty any longer. And yet you don't see women have the courage to do this in the United Kingdom, in the European Union, in New York City, or anywhere else in the United States of America. We like to call ourselves such a pro-woman and such a radically progressive society built upon feminism, and yet when we're watching legitimate, actual feminism take place, the Western world is silent.
If Ayatollah Khamenei were to be overthrown today, the question is, what changes would occur in Iran? First, Iran's flag would be changed, after which it would look something like this. The Islamic system in Iran would completely end, and it would become a secular country like Turkey. Women would have complete freedom, and wearing the burqa would no longer be mandatory. The enmity between Iran and Israel would transform into friendship. Israel would have an embassy in Iran, and Iran would open an embassy in Israel. The U.S. sanctions imposed on Iran would be gradually lifted. Iran, like Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries, would be able to sell its oil and gas to the world, which would begin to improve Iran's economy. Iran's currency would strengthen, reducing the poverty of the Iranian people. The World Bank, IMF, and other countries would provide Iran with abundant loans. Iran will completely cease its work on developing nuclear weapons. This will make Iran a base for Israel rather than a threat, allowing Israel to monitor countries like Pakistan and Afghanistan. In addition to these changes, the risk of a nuclear war in Iran will increase significantly. The security situation in Iran will deteriorate significantly, and complete stability will take 5 to 10 years.
They are celebrating the coming of America, and they are happy. They are now burning mosques in Iran now. That is what is happening. I will show you some clips, but before then, I learned that this country, Nigeria. Well, there is an attack. There is an attack by Boko Haram. There is a confrontation anyway. So I think we are going to start with Nigeria own before we go into the the Iran own. That is the, that's the way we are going to structure it in this video, because we have a lot to show you in this video, and you need to relax. If you have coffee or whatever, popcorn, you just grab it, because you are going to, see so many things in this video. So let's start.
So Boko Haram and ISWAP has carried out one of the most deadliest attacks against the Nigerian army in a military base in the northeast Nigeria, and the results, in fact, this is considered to be the worst attack the Nigerian army has suffered in recent times. Now watch and see exactly how these people coordinated this attack and carried out. I don't know exactly why this was successful, but God have mercy. Just listen.
A highly distressing and significant national security development has just emerged from the northeastern theater of operations, sending immediate shockwaves through the military hierarchy and the entire nation. Based on verified intelligence reports rapidly coming in from Borno State today, heavily armed insurgents, widely suspected to be a coordinated coalition of Islamic State West Africa Province fighters operating alongside Boko Haram factions, have successfully executed a massive and incredibly devastating assault on a Nigerian army military installation. This sudden and tragic confrontation took place at the forward operating base strategically positioned near the vital Banki Junction, which sits directly along the heavily contested and highly critical Bama to Goza highway. The fierce encounter has unfortunately resulted in severe and heartbreaking casualties for our dedicated armed forces, leading to the painful death of a highly respected and valiant senior military officer, whom security sources have identified as Major U.I. Mairiga. Alongside the courageous major, a brave captain and several other dedicated soldiers also lost their lives while fiercely attempting to defend their fortified position against a completely overwhelming number of heavily armed attackers. This deeply unfortunate incident represents one of the most intense and concentrated enemy engagements we have witnessed in recent weeks, serving as a very stark and sobering reminder of the incredibly dangerous and volatile conditions our frontline troops continue to face daily in the remote trenches of Borno State. To fully comprehend the sheer magnitude and the tactical nature of what actually transpired at the Banki Junction, we must carefully examine the specific operational details provided by trusted military insiders regarding how these insurgents aggressively executed this offensive. The attackers did not simply stumble upon this military facility by accident. This was a highly calculated, meticulously planned and deliberately timed invasion designed to inflict maximum damage. The terrorists reportedly descended upon the forward operating base in massive, highly coordinated waves, utilizing a large fleet of operational motorcycles alongside several heavily modified utility vehicles. These tactical trucks were actively mounted with incredibly dangerous high-caliber anti-aircraft weapons and heavy machine guns, giving the attackers a temporary but massive volume of suppressive firepower. According to highly credible intelligence gathered directly from the theater of operation, the insurgents deliberately and maliciously timed their massive assault to coincide with the exact moment many of the stationed military personnel were completely vulnerable, specifically breaking their Ramadan fast around 6:30 in the evening. By exploiting this highly specific religious window, the militants actively attempted to catch the dedicated troops completely off guard. However, despite the suddenness of the heavy incoming gunfire and the overwhelming numerical advantage of the advancing attackers, the brave Nigerian soldiers stationed at the base absolutely refused to surrender their ground. They immediately rallied their defenses, grabbed their weapons, and engaged in a fierce, prolonged, and incredibly intense firefight that lasted for several grueling hours. These highly courageous men stood their ground firmly in the fading evening light, exchanging heavy kinetic fire with the insurgents in a desperate and valiant bid to protect the military facility and secure the outer perimeter, ultimately paying the supreme price in their unwavering service to this great nation. As we continue to closely monitor this highly sensitive and evolving national security situation, actively bringing you the verified facts regarding the ongoing military operations in the Northeast without any unnecessary sensationalism, I want to take a brief moment to ask for your solid support. If you truly value how we deliver these crucial verified national updates and actively separate dangerous internet rumors from actual military facts, please take just one quick second to hit that like button right now. It is genuinely the absolute most effective way to help this video reach more patriotic citizens who urgently need to stay properly informed about the real, undeniable sacrifices our armed forces are making every single day to keep this nation safe. Furthermore, if you want to remain completely updated on all major security, political, and defense developments happening across the country, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell right now so that you are immediately alerted the very moment we publish our next comprehensive factual report. Following the incredibly intense and chaotic battle at the Banki Junction, the incredibly grim and heartbreaking reality of the encounter began to fully set in as the heavy dust finally settled over the Bama axis. Military authorities at the highest level swiftly initiated immediate recovery and stabilization operations. Security sources have officially confirmed that specialized medical convoys carrying the remains of Major Mairiga, the fallen captain, and the other exceptionally brave soldiers were respectfully and securely transported to the 7th Division Military Hospital, which is located in the heavily fortified capital city of Maiduguri. While the entire nation deeply mourns this heavy and painful loss, it is absolutely vital to properly place this specific targeted attack into the much broader strategic context of what is actually happening across the entire northeastern theater of operation in this current period of 2026. This tragic incident at the Banki Junction is not an isolated show of terrorist strength. It is actually part of a much larger, incredibly violent pushback by desperate and fracturing terrorist factions who are currently suffocating under the immense, crushing weight of recent highly successful Nigerian military offensives. Just days prior to this devastating attack, the highly motivated troops of the Joint Task Force Northeast, actively operating under the banner of Operation Hadinkai, successfully and completely repelled massive coordinated terrorist assaults on multiple other forward operating bases located in Mayanti, Gajigana, and Gajiram. In those specific and highly kinetic encounters, the Nigerian army completely dominated the battlefield, successfully neutralizing dozens of enemy fighters and recovering an absolutely massive cache of dangerous combat equipment. The military triumphantly seized automatic anti-aircraft guns, rocket-propelled grenade tubes, large quantities of ammunition, and even intercepted advanced weaponized drones that the desperate insurgents were actively attempting to use for aerial strikes against our troops. The total humiliating failure of those previous coordinated attacks actively forced the insurgents into a highly disorderly retreat, suffering extremely heavy operational and personnel losses. Because the Nigerian military has been so incredibly aggressive in systematically destroying their identified life support structures, actively cutting off their vital logistics and supply corridors and continuously arresting their key local informants and suppliers, the remaining terrorist factions are now lashing out in a state of sheer desperation. They are actively resorting to launching these rapid, heavily concentrated and highly dangerous attacks on isolated forward operating bases in a frantic last-ditch attempt to grab necessary weapons, secure vital food supplies, and score a cheap psychological victory to boost their rapidly depleting morale. Despite the incredibly heartbreaking and painful loss of the major and his highly dedicated men, the military high command maintains a very strong and unwavering position that these sporadic, desperate ambushes will absolutely not deter or slow down the ongoing massive clearance operations designed to finally and permanently rid the entire Lake Chad region of these criminal elements. The frontline troops remain fully and completely committed to their highly sustained offensive posture, a strategy which continues to successfully deny the terrorists any actual freedom of action or safe movement across the vast expanse of Borno State. The incredible courage displayed by the fallen soldiers at the Banki Junction, who fought fiercely and bravely under the absolute most difficult and terrifying circumstances imaginable, perfectly highlights the incredible resilience, dedication, and patriotism of the Nigerian armed forces. As the military rapidly regroups, reinforces its positions, and actively prepares to launch a massive heavy retaliatory sweep to aggressively track down and neutralize the fleeing insurgents responsible for this specific attack, we must ask ourselves a very important question about the immediate future of our national security strategy. Do you believe that the military hierarchy needs to urgently deploy significantly more advanced aerial surveillance technology and continuous close air support to properly protect these highly remote forward operating bases? Or do you firmly think the operational focus should shift entirely towards taking the offensive fight directly into the deepest remaining forest enclaves before these insurgents ever have a chance to regroup and plan another attack?
Oh my God, all these videos you are watching and the ones you still about to watch, they are not AI. They are real life videos. This is the exact situation of what is happening. You know, this Iran situation will be likened to somebody committing suicide. And you know that you are about to be thrown and you will be, you know, inside water, you'll be grabbing anything you see. That is why they went and bombed UAE, bomb Iraq, and bomb which other country again? Dostro bomb. They are gone. Money wasted. You don't know who passed you. You don't know the people that are above you when it comes to technology and every other thing. Iran, no. Iran. Oh my God. Well, let's continue watching. We'll be back.
Do you think Trump is a king?
No, he's not a king. He's a president. He's the president of the United States and the best goddamn president we ever had. He got the popular vote. Everybody loves him, even though the news don't want to show it. He's a king to me, but not a king in the regards that they say dictatorship. No, he's just a king. He was a king before he was even president, but he's the #1 president this world ever had. He should be the world president, if you ask me.
Unprecedented massive retaliation. Iran just declared total war. 8 countries hit right now. 170 plus ballistic missiles plus hundreds of killer drones slammed into Israel and US bases across the Gulf. No limits. Tel Aviv burning, 1 dead, 21 injured. Dubai, Palm Jumeirah exploding, 1 civilian dead. Hotels in flames. Kuwait airport wrecked. Bahrain's US Navy HQ under direct attack. This is not a drill, it's escalating fast. 8 nations lit up. Israel, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Iraq. First wave, 20 barrages straight at Israel. Iran screams 14 US bases destroyed, payback for killing our supreme leader yesterday. Direct carnage, Tel Aviv building collapse. UAE Burj Al Arab zone ablaze. Dubai airport shut. Kuwait, 3 soldiers down, 12 total hurt. Debris chaos everywhere, airports closed, oil prices going nuts. Iran vows, no red lines, endless waves incoming. America's closest friends are on fire. World War III starting live. Comment Iran wins or US strikes back.
So this war between Iran, US, and Israel has exposed so many things within a few days. What you're looking at like this is Saudi Aramco, the biggest oil firm or oil whatever that exists in the whole of Middle East. That's what is smoking like that. Then you must have seen a video where some aircraft, fighter jets are falling from the sky. These ones were shot down by Kuwaiti air defense system. They accidentally shot them down, thinking they were coming from Iran. They didn't know it was American fighter jets. And so the guys, actually, you can see the video, the guy actually survived. He ejected. So there has not been casualty from the American Air Force. You know, it's a war, and then damages are everywhere. But the worst thing is that Iran has been moving like a madman carrying a loaded barrel. There is no weapon Iran has not deployed. If you look at my back here, what you're seeing is a suicide drone. Just watch how it will fly and go to kill itself on some of American installation military base. I think that was in Qatar. Just watch. So now, so as that particular drone is falling there, that was how they also sent this same kind of suicide drone to go to Burj Khalifa in Dubai to bring it down. These guys have done everything possible to cause infrastructural damage to these countries that are developed. You know, one of the reasons why Iran has refused to develop is because they invest a lot of their money in this kind of weapons, drones, ballistic missiles, and all that. So, and because of this, the country is very poor. Their GDP is just about 400 something billion dollars, but every year they budget up to $15 billion, you know, in on military. Yeah, which is crazy. It's crazy. Like, I don't know. Go to that country, education is rubbish. The road infrastructure, nothing is working in the country. But the only thing working in Iran is their military. And if you ask the reason, they will tell you they have enemies. America is our enemy. Israel is our enemy. What exactly is the problem? Nobody knows. You know, you can't tell me that being a friend to America has not favored Dubai, Qatar, Saudi, or all those other countries. I don't know why Iran has just chosen to be on the other side. And this war will take them many years backwards, whether you like it or not. They've been hitting everywhere, hitting Israel, hitting, where is it called? Qatar, hitting Saudi, hitting Bahrain, hitting Kuwait, hitting UAE. And the worst is that if these people decide to retaliate, Iran cannot last more than 24 hours. In fact, even with the fraction of US military deployed to that region, Iran cannot sustain this war for too long. No matter how many missiles they have in stockpile, they will exhaust it. They will exhaust it, and they will still not be able to achieve anything meaningful other than causing civilian damages, because they actually don't have any military intelligence to carry out any serious military damage against any country within this region. But exactly what we know is that the US is trying everything possible to calm the situation while they still, enforce the operation, in the sense that they are trying to, encourage the other regional countries to calm down, don't retaliate. We handle the defense. Don't retaliate. Most of the batteries used for intercepting these missiles across those countries are Americans, Patriots, and all of them are going to be replenished by the US, I believe. And again, whether you like it or not, the US is trying to achieve one thing, which is almost the same thing they did in Iraq. They just want to carry out a complete regime change. If that works, that will be the greatest achievement of any president in the history of the United States. If they can achieve that, then it means these threats from this region can then be eliminated, and then these countries can coexist. You won't be hearing the chants of death to America, death to Israel. Then they can coexist peacefully, and then Iran itself can be on the path of progress. Iran has been deteriorated over the years because of this dream of planning to have ballistic missile that can reach Europe, that can reach America, having nuke that can eliminate Israel, so they can be the only country that I don't even know their aim, and then countries like China who benefit from everything that is bad. Whereas the war is going, oil prices have surged, weapons have surged. Of course, when these things happen, America gains. Russia is now the one supplying China crude oil right now as we speak. So somehow this war is favoring A and B. But if you look at countries like North Korea, I don't know how they will survive, because at this point, they will now rely only on Russia, and we believe that even as the war is going on, not countries like North Korea and China will still find a way to smuggle in things into these countries to help them sustain the assault. But let's see how it ends. Maybe in the next 2 weeks. I believe the U.S. operation within these areas won't be more than just 12 days. But let's keep watching.
Well, Iran will brag that they bombed oil, oil company or whatever in Saudi. Yes, they will brag about it, but that is just scratching the surface. They have not done anything because that thing will be rebuilt shortly. But it will take Iran, it will take them 100 years back. It will take them 100 years back. If not, America, they get strong support from foreign countries like America, but of which I know that America will give them. But in terms of manufacturing of bombs and the rest, that one has been halted. That one has been, turned to rubbles. That is the situation now. However, let's continue watching, and afterwards we are going to see what Alright News talk about the situation. Thank you.
Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending with the story dominating global conversations this weekend. The United States and Israel launching a barrage of strikes on Iran early Saturday morning, killing the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. After weeks of unsuccessful diplomatic talks, social media was flooded almost immediately with videos and images showing explosions seen and heard across Tehran as the scale of destruction became clear in real time.
Oh my God.
No joking, guys. We have just been hit by a drone. We have it coming. It stinks of oil in here. I didn't even finish my cup of tea.
The Iranian Red Crescent Society confirmed that more than 200 people have died in Iran since the strikes began. But perhaps the most harrowing image to emerge: a girls' primary school in the city of Minab in southern Iran struck by a missile on Saturday morning, killing over 150 people, almost all of them young girls between the ages of 7 and 12. Around 170 students were inside the school at the time of the attack. Young girls, this is horrible. May their souls rest in peace. Well, President Donald Trump announced the attack in an 8-minute video released on his Truth Social account on Saturday morning, stating that the goal was to eliminate threats from the Iranian regime and warning that the war could last for weeks.
Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military and police to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. America is with you. I made a promise to you, and I fulfilled that promise. The rest will be up to you, but we'll be there to help. Thank you. God bless you too.
Well, and the scenes from inside Iran after that announcement were nothing short of extraordinary, as Iranians poured into the streets in cities including Tehran, celebrating the death of a man who had ruled over them for 36 years. Fireworks lit up the sky, car horns filled the air, and people danced openly, some waving the pre-revolution lion and sun flag, a symbol of defiance against the Islamic Republic. Let's take a look.
Love you, Trump. You can't imagine how we are appreciate our country, our people. I'm really appreciate. We love you.
Thank you, Mr. President Trump. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you, Mr. President.
From Los Angeles to London, Berlin to Madrid, Iranians in the diaspora joined in, with one Iranian in Portland capturing the mood of many when she said, "I hope you never know the sheer desperation of a people praying to be bombed, only to be free." 47 years in the making, and today they are celebrating. In the meantime, not everyone was celebrating when Iranian state television confirmed the death of the supreme leader in the early hours of Sunday morning. The moment was raw, painful, and deeply human. The anchor, tasked with the breaking news to the nation, visibly struggled to keep his composure, describing Khamenei as a revered leader whose long dream of martyrdom had become true, before breaking down in tears, sobbing into his hands as others in the studio were also heard crying.
Inna lillah. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un.
The broadcast went on to announce 40 days of national mourning and a 7-day public holiday. Thousands of mourners dressed in black and holding portraits of Khamenei flooded Tehran's square, chanting "Death to America" and "Death to Israel." I mean, there's so much to unpack here, Rufai, with this story coming out of the United States and Israel. Of course, there are ripple effects with also the fact that the airports have been blocked. The Dubai airports, one of the most important airports in the world, was halted. Also, we had stories from Abu Dhabi where the state had ordered the hotels to try to make sure that the people that are stuck in their hotel rooms get extended stay, really.
Okay, so what is happening is Trump unilaterally went to invade Iran. He didn't go through Congress. In the coming days, we'll see what Congress is going to say about it. Secondly, the reason why Iran is retaliating and striking those other countries is the fact that it's the American targets there. America set up bases in those areas to be able to insulate themselves, and they're trying to attack those bases, but definitely you will have collateral damage. Also, there's a story making the round as regards Britain. Britain had to intercept a missile that was going out there to Qatar to be able to attack in Qatar. So Britain has also been dragged into this. Anyway, Keir Starmer has not been saying anything. Everybody is calling for balance at this point in time. But the way forward and the solution of this matter will be, at the end of all of this, like America claims, are they going to be able to have a regime change? It's going to be hard. Are they going to be able to put in their puppets? Because the grand scheme in all of this is to be able to put in their puppet Reza Pahlavi. The problem America has always had with Iran, don't forget they were very good allies, was the fact that since the Shah left in 79, they don't have their person there, and this Islamic government is definitely against them. So it's about interest in the end. America did it against Mossadegh in 53, with the CIA plotting a coup against Mossadegh, and this time around they just want control. So it's a fight for control. It's a continuation of the American hegemony. Will it work? Will it not work? Only time will tell in the coming days.
Time will tell.
It's not about nuclear weapons. Let's stop deceiving ourselves.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the conversation is about these two leaders, Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump, expressing their emotions. That's what, some people have really just boiled down this whole conversation to. I mean, because it's been years, decades of this idea of Iran having a nuclear weapon, and the story is unraveling. We have an abridged time for what's trending today. I wish we had time for your comments.
Well, me I dey talk. How many of the bombs that Nigeria manufactured? How many? But you know that Biafra has been able to produce rockets, and this has been tested. And foreigners saw it tested.
What sort of a rocket?
I'm not a military man, so I know it. Biafrans have now rockets.
You know what
they are producing their own arms, producing machine guns, producing armored cars. And this is a record in Africa. This is the first black African country to produce rockets. And some people were jealous of it, that they had to go and close the chemistry department in UNN. That is where the knowledge came out from during the Civil War. So that is it. But had it been that, Biafra was allowed to function on their own and everything, by now, it would have gone very, very far. And the whites then, they came to, ask questions and study it, what the Nigerians have done, Biafrans in particular. However, countries like Iran, they were nowhere. Then they were nowhere. Nowhere at all to be found. You see how some people are bringing some people down in this country. You see to it. However, let's complete this video. By the time we come back, we are going to call it a day. Say thank you.
The crisis in the whole of the Middle East, the escalation of hostilities between Iran, the United States, and Israel, with all the implications of that for global stability, for international relations, for the integrity of the United Nations, and also for countries depending on the Strait of Hormuz for the transportation of crude oil, and also for global trade, that route being so strategic. And he had a lot of things to say about how America, and particularly Trump, is just riding roughshod over others, and even the moral question about whether America has the moral right, and Israel as well, to say that other countries cannot have nuclear powers, or even whether it is for research or for whatever purpose. And then, of course, we had retired Commissioner of Police, Mr. Lawrence Alobi, commenting on state police and the appointment of a new Inspector General of Police, and the person of AIG Tunji Disu. Let me start with you, Professor Kila.
Yes, and let me start from where you started from, which is your conversation with Ambassador Joe Keshi. I think the first thing to say is that Ambassador Joe Keshi, he was reluctant to rejoice on the clear, logical consequence of the conflict. I can see why. He doesn't want to be seen like a vulture that lives on dead bodies. But the fact is, with this situation, oil prices are likely to go up, and oil-producing countries are likely to benefit from it. But then, because many of these countries, like Nigeria, are not producers, is a short gain in reality, because then we're going to pay more for the cost of the things we import. But, the government, and maybe exporters like Dangote will benefit from this situation. This is the time to say, thank goodness we have Dangote, because if he refines it in locally, we'll be shielded from that and he can make some money out of it. Ambassador Keshi also has a reason to not rejoice this time, but at least to be reassured, because whatever happens, diplomacy will still be needed. We're at a time where major players, and i.e. Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu, have resulted to pure max politics. Is a Prussian German expression where right is might. I think the peculiarity and what makes this situation complex is that Donald Trump is not even trying to add finesse. He's not putting the sophistry, which other people call hypocrisy of the West, on it. He wants something and he goes for it. There are some light consequences we need to see here. Because of the invasion or the takeover, as it were, of Venezuela, America has access to oil, which normally they do not have. So perhaps the global, the consequence that will be global will be different to America because they have access to oil. So it might not affect them the way we won't expect it to affect them. Another consequence to look at in geopolitics is that channel, that
Strait of Hormuz,
the Hormuz that you talk about, is something that will affect China, because a major percentage of the oil of Iran goes to China. So let's see how China is going to react to that, how it's going to affect trade and commerce, besides dignity and sovereignty. I think Senator Jokashi oversimplifies when he limits this issue to the fact that Trump said Obama, therefore Trump reverses everything Obama says. For our viewers, let me re-emphasize that verb, oversimplify. That might be there as well. But I think what we have in play is more of the Israeli factor, or better still, the Netanyahu factor in this matter. We keep saying U.S. has invaded, but in reality, it is U.S. and Israel. It is U.S. for Israel, or Israel for U.S. that has done it. Something is going on in the world, and that is that the approach of the rest of the world to the Israeli conflict, or the Israelis' dominance, or the way what is going on in that part of the world has changed a lot. I come from a generation where, in my university days, we were wearing the keffiyeh, at least many of my friends, and I for a while, to support Palestine. That thing went down, it disappeared for a while. Then a new generation has come up, a new world where people are openly challenging Israel's position. Netanyahu, I suspect, sees this as a changing tide. And if he doesn't attack Iran now, he might not be able to do it again. And, he has all the circumstances, a willing president, and that is why they're going for it. There is a fundamental error in interpretation. When we say Iraq failed, Libya failed, there's an assumption, perhaps because we believe the rhetorics, Pareto, Michels, and those theorists will call it the political formula. Perhaps because we believe in the rhetorics that they used to go for war. We follow this premise to say that America goes to Libya, to Iraq, to Afghanistan to improve the place. So when they do regime change and the place is not good, we consider it a failure. I think that's a false premise. Interest is regime change. What happens later is not really their interest. And so if they go to Iran today, as they've done, get rid of the leader, what happens next? We just assume that it's in the interest of stability. It doesn't have to be so. That is not part of the game. What interests them is regime change. Ambassador Keshi says it's not about the resources because they could buy it. Well, you could buy it, but if you get it cheaper, or you get it from a government who is more malleable from you, or if you get it without paying, Venezuela is the case, then it becomes cheaper, and then the war might be worth it. So I think there's a lot of bigger interest and play, but let's see what happens. There's something understated, the fact that the retaliation of Iran is causing quite chaos. I was on a teleconference today with some people in Dubai, because I'm part of a project in the Middle East, and they're telling me that they've been told to stay at home, and they can hear bombs near them, and the prices of food have gone up because people are storing, regardless of what the government has told them, not to do that. But so there's panic, and what is going on is very serious. Back home,
I will also begin with the crisis in the Middle East, and I want to begin with a question. in this conflict, who wins? Nobody. I would have expected...
Keep Bono, let's say so.
Yeah, I would have expected Netanyahu and Trump to reflect more deeply before this adventure. We have been here for quite some time, this Iran issue. The question is, Iran wants to acquire nuclear weapons. The rest of, a part of the West doesn't want it, and that's where we are. Those who understand the dynamics of global politics better negotiated, they formed what we call the JCPOA 2014, and in 2015 we had that Iran nuclear deal. After that deal was signed, the way the Iran nuclear infrastructure was supervised, there was no way Iran could have got nuclear weapons. It was too closely monitored. But when Trump came, Trump said no, that Iran got some money and that they ought to have attached Iran's place in the Middle East to it and all that. They could have amended that. You don't get everything you want. I say who gains because you ask, what is the objective that both the US and Israel want? They want stability in the Middle East. Will these strikes provide that stability? The answer is no. You remove Khomeini, first of all, the morality of killing an 86-year-old man. When they had the 12-day war in June last year, Trump mentioned that Netanyahu wanted to kill Khomeini, and I stopped him from doing so. That why kill at that time was 85 years. Why kill an 85-year-old man?
He wasn't old enough to be killed.
Just
now he has gained a year.
Just leave him, man. So what has changed from that time till now? Not much has changed. So I am beginning to think that there is no policy consistency in the EU, and that is very dangerous for the global community. There are better paths to this than what we are seeing. Now, take a look at it from another dimension. What if some of the countries that have nuclear weapons become so sympathetic to Iran that they say, okay, let everybody die. Not only one man is mad. Yeah. There are 9 of them. And one of them is a Muslim country, by the way, Pakistan. Yeah. There are 9 of them. Or any other, or maybe Russia or whoever. Everybody dies, including Trump himself. Everybody goes. So there is need for reasonableness in the way these things are approached. This approach of, if you kill Khomeini today, you won't, who will you find that would lead Iran, that will be that moderate, that will not do your bidding like maybe Venezuela? I can't see any. In fact, the people I've spoken to overnight since this happened, even in Nigeria, they are saying the oppression is too much. That if they are willing to go to Iran to fight to defend Iran. And I'm thinking, if Nigerians are willing to go and fight on the side of Iran, both Christians, so not just Muslims alone, how will Iranians be feeling? They will, by now, you will see, they will have, whatever divisions they have will have been taken care of. This thing will unite them against whoever, and as you can see, apart from that, Iran is also throwing its own bombs all over the place, and so there is instability. I think this war has arisen from extreme indiscretion, and there is a need for all parties to, reflect deeply so that a new path, can follow. Professor Samuel Huntington wrote a book a few years, many years ago that we thought he was just exaggerating, The Clash of Civilizations, and the Remaking of World Order. And you can see East-West, and Israel, US, and then the other side. And of course, there are some in the middle who will support this side at some point and support the other side at some point. There is need for. Yesterday, by the way, the United Nations Security Council met. I just sympathize with the Secretary General and all that because they were just looking.
Paper tiger.
And the U.S. ambassador to the UN was making some nonsense statements that I can't make sense of. At this time, there is need for all sides to calm down so that some stability can come. Then finally, on this one, oil.
Yeah.
Yes. God bless Dangote.
Yeah.
Because, each time we have this kind of crisis that Nigeria could have benefited from, the fear of how much you buy refined products for
makes you
we'll say, oh, no, we don't want to go too high so that, but now that is taken care of to some extent, such that we can buy refined products from within and we can benefit maximum. That's one. The second aspect has to do with how much oil are we actually selling. 1.5, 1.6 million barrels per day. People talk a lot about the 1970s when we had a lot of money from oil and all that. They think the thing fell from heaven. It didn't fall from heaven. Look, in 73, when that war broke out, our oil export of 1.5 million barrels per day. And Gowon said, we will increase this tremendously and gain maximally. By March 1974, it had gone to 2.3 million barrels per day. So what we had in 1974, when we were just 62, 63 million, we cannot get in 2026 when we are 240 million. Now, in April 1974, Gowon met the British High Commissioner, Martin Loquenst, and he told him, look, Nigeria is a country in a hurry.
Yeah, we can't wait.
We can't wait.
We can't wait.
Nigeria was supposed to be in a hurry in 1974.
Yeah.
In 2026, it is somnolence. It's not in a hurry. So we can't gain much because what are we exporting? 1.6, 1.5, 1.6 million barrels
Well,
per
we
day.
make more money from the
Not even up to 1.5. I mean, about 1.4 million barrels per day. So we're going to make some gains, but it won't be extensive. So the need to also expand that, is there, which is very surprising. Under Jonathan, it was 2.3, 2.4 million barrels per day. People say, oh, Jonathan, $100 million, $100 per. Not just the amount, but the quantity. Even if it is 1,000, 1 million. Yes, and you don't, you increase capacity. You're just where you. So that's one thing government should pay attention to. Then
America and Iran. And recently, when the Iranians started protesting and everything, Donald Trump offered that help is on the way. And Donald Trump, representing the American government, it's a close friend of Israel. And I know that Israel does not feel comfortable witnessing some powerful neighbors in the Middle East. So that argument is still there. But I support the presentations on this table that you need to go back in time. So what was achieved in Libya, okay, now Donald Trump came to Nigeria to hit the bandits in South Koto State. But the bandits are still, and the body language is, okay, Nigeria, take it over from there. So I think it should be clearly thought out what exactly the purpose is, because the hatred is spreading. And look at what Iran did by hitting back in some, exactly, in Qatar, UAE, and I mean, right now, and like Professor Aura mentioned, even in the global community, people are beginning to feel that sense of oppression. But where is the United Nations that can tame these superpowers that are experimenting? And I totally agree that it's not, you are not the one to tell me whether I need to build my nuclear capacity, particularly when you have yours. I mean, it's a global space for those who want to operate. And again, we know that Afghanistan and Pakistan, they are on each other's neck right now. So let's come to the economy side of it. Yeah, as the table is shaking, it can shake to either of two sides, creating global recession within the economic space or creating fortunes for some. But in the case of Nigeria, we still have the issue of engaging resources to create commonwealth for common good. I recall in 1991, during the Operation Desert Storm. Exactly. And the windfall that followed it in the days of IBB. And they claim to have spent that money on infrastructure and things like that. So Nigeria needs to wake up, even beyond waiting for a crisis-driven windfall or boom. What we have, how can we also engage it to develop? And I also tie with Professor Aurao's position that thank God for Dangote, but then we should not be a vulnerable nation to the things that are happening around the world. We call them external shocks. So we also should strive to become one of the superpowers in the world that shake the table. So those are the issues. But, this noise of war and threats of war, I doubt if that is what we need right now, because I'm looking ahead to imagine the kind of America Donald Trump will live when he leaves office. With battles and things like that. But it's also to the people in the Middle East to galvanize and ask that simple question. Do we now you can imagine being a friend and now your communities are being bombed, talking of Qatar, those people. What exactly do we need? Because Ukraine and Russia, they are still there. They've not come to any a resolution point. And I believe that the patience that Ambassador Keshi mentioned in diplomacy must be deployed to ensure that at least we have a relatively harmonious global community for particularly evolving nations to find their space of development.
Dr. Bachi, there is something you said, which I call that Bachi.
All right, this is the update of the things happening around the world concerning the US-Israeli-Iran war. It is a full-blown war, and Iran has suffered a very big blow from the US on 28th of February. Yes, it was very fatal to them by their supreme leader, and so many commanders were killed at the same time, leaving them with almost nothing. However, until I come your way next time, I say bye for now.